What's up everyone, Bradley Jack Design here with another Discord, what are these called? Critiques. So this week, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like I have 22 of these, so we're going to have 22 wonderful designs to take a look at. First off, we're looking at this graphic by RJ Graphics, Rachel J Graphics. As you can see, it's a ping pong graphic, which is cool. Don't see a lot of those. Actually, no, it's Batman. So it makes sense with this logo up here. So badminton, that's a fun one to do. So composition I like. So we've got spacing all around the sides here, which is great. Logos down here is nice. This is placed nicely. Maybe make this smaller, but they probably want it big, so that's fine. I like the information we've got going around here. I feel like they maybe want this to be a little bit more legible and not just sort of as a, whenever I do anything like this, I usually do it as like a textural element. But I like this background color contrast we've got going on here, along with this here, sort of the red, white, and blue that they use in the logo, so that's solid. I think all these players are done pretty nicely. We've got the trophy and the players around it. I think some of the editing on the photos is a little odd. I don't know, like this guy just looks really cold compared to this, just based on like skin tones, like he's really blue. And then I just feel like maybe this lighting is a little too harsh. I get what you're trying to do, and I like the sort of shiny trophy lens flare sort of thing going on, but I think it's just a little harsh for me. I like this guy in the front. I think he's done pretty well. The shadows look pretty solid. Maybe a little darker here, like it's real dark here, which is great. This seems pretty nice. That's going on here. I like that this person's in front of this text. I'm not really crazy about the text, just because it seems like a really basic 3D. And you've got like some weird areas here where the player's like in front of the 3D, but behind this front area. So it's just kind of confusing overall, based on that. But just a couple little things, you know, just work on your lighting with the stuff around here. Figure out what's going on here with the text. Just gonna scribble a bunch for no reason. Composition's good though with these players. This is the main focus, and then you see this guy and this guy, and it's all spaced in nicely. So overall, pretty solid. Let's see which way I want to go. I actually want to go this way. This is by Anthony Glow, or Antony Glow. So obviously we've got Devin Booker and Kobe. Be Legendary, them on a scene with Giannis's jersey on the ground with the finals. So looking at this, I like the composition. I like what you've got going on here. Overall, they look realistic as if they're standing on here. You know, this gets a little dark back here, but I don't think that's too much of an issue. I probably would have moved this down just a little bit, so it's like right here. So it's got equal spacing here and here. It's fine where it is though. Overall though, it looks like some of the lighting seems a little heavy-handed. So like, you know, there's a lot of contrasting areas that hit with a lot of heavy contrast. Like there's a lot of contrast here and here, but then it's super heavy when it hits this certain area. I think just some of the effects are a little heavy. Like I just think he looks odd. Like his head is very, very, very light here, but it immediately goes into this dark area. It would be blended in a little bit more. I think some of the lighter areas wouldn't be as light. Like I think this looks good, like in this area, but then, you know, he's magically dark here, but not darker here. I think you chose to make certain spots darker than others, which is fine, but I think if you had an overall like exposure on this to make everything a little bit darker for the background and then added in the highlights and lowlights, I think it would have been a little bit more successful. Because like some of these areas just like look like this area is light, this area is dark, this area is light, this area is light. Like it just seems a little muddy. I think that's the right way of the way I want to put it. Because like the light on its hand would hit his fingers. The fingers would actually be brighter than here. So I think there's just a couple things like I can tell you you painted on darkness here. So I think just be a little bit more fine detailed with your lighting. The composition's solid though, and you know, this looks realistic, and these sort of dust effects you have are solid with the lens. Like that's all solid. I think just play with the lighting a little bit. That can be a little bit of improved on. We've got this by Painkiller. Does Trick or Treat graphic. I think you showed this to me before, and pretty much. No notes, it's perfect. No, it's really good. Like, I don't really have much to say on it. Like, this looks all done pretty well. You know, it might be a little too soft for my liking, like noise reduced in the face, because everything's a little grittier, but like, overall, pretty good, pretty great. Like, really, if I wanted to nitpick, I'd put like ore right here and just like move this up just a little bit, and just, you know, that's really it. Like, it just looks like you could, you know, drive a truck through that. So, the lighting's good. Like, these little sparks are nice. The lighting on the skull's good. This dark is great. The background's nice, and it fits well with this overall as a scene. So really not a lot I would change with this. Just keep doing what you're doing. And again, that was by Painkiller. Let's see what we have next. We've got this by Justin K. Designs, we got Air Gordon. So composition, pretty solid. The composition for this, big player, text in the front, background is what I'm looking at here. Let's see what we want to say about this. So like there's a lot of like over saturation, or like I think some of these highlights are a little blown out. And like if we zoom in, you know, it's really blown out on his face here, really blown out, like it's super white, and there's a little bit of a blur you can tell in some of these areas, but not others. Like there's just this overall random blur, but I can still see like the sharp lines of his legs. So I don't know what you're trying to do with that. I like that you're playing with distortion maps or displacement maps with the text. It's a little hard to read, but I don't know what you're trying to go for with this, because you've got it sort of bleeding into his body, which is fun to experiment with. It's a little hard to read for like a realistic, if this was like a realistic project someone gave you, they'd be like, we can't read Air Gordon. I think you've got decent realism with the clouds down here. I think this is all a little too white. You know, and I can see it here. I think since this is so white, I feel like you would need to add a little bit of white down here to fully cover up the tip of his shoe so you couldn't see it, and like fully cover up stuff. Otherwise, have these be a little more translucent and you can see behind it and see these mountains back here. So overall, composition's good. The text is a little hard to read, but you're playing around with displacement math probably, which I like to see. And then everything's a little over contrasted with the saturation or the over highlights. And then like you've got this weird line over here. Could be from the displacement map, probably, but just keep playing around. Other than that, I like what you're doing compositionally. The lighting looks like it could have been great. It just looks like it's just over contrast, I think is the right word I want to say. I think he's out of order. So we're gonna go down, figure out what we have going on. Alright, so this is by Drew S5. Sorry, Drew S7. And as you know, of course, I'm already gonna say, Obitopic design, automatically A+. We just give this an A+. Or a check plus as well. No, so I like this design. Looking at it initially, I thought it was pretty solid. I think you were successful in some areas, like this is nice there. The obi here is nice, and the top in here is nice as well. But in some areas, it could be a little bit more realistic. So like this one looks realistic because you can like see where the lights are. This one a little less so. Like if I look at this board, like I can see the LEDs are smaller than how this says Obi. So honestly, what I would have done for this, and I've done this for like marquees, and it's super taxing, is take a photo of that light, or whatever that LED, like an empty light bulb, like over here, Like I would take an empty light bulb and spell out Obi, and then in certain spots I'd hit it with white to make it as if it's on. But it's not bad. I think what you could have done was just sort of blurred this a little bit, because you can see the rest of it is somewhat a little bit blurry. I think if you just gave them a little bit of a blur, it might have sold it a little bit better. So then, like, if we're going to continue with that, you know, try and make these look the same realistic wise. Like if this was a sign, there'd be a little bit more padding on it. I like that you have some size contrast with the stats, and you're doing something different with per 36 minutes. And I think I would put minutes on there, because if someone doesn't understand that, they might not know what's going on. But like, just keep playing around with like some of these things, making them look a little bit more realistic. And then if you add like an overlay or something to the background, it might glue everything together. All right, on to the actual subject. So I think Obi's like huge in this photo. You know, like this is an entrance. So he's like, you know, he's like 15 feet tall. So if this is like a 7-foot door, and he's here, you know, draw some lines. This is 7 feet. You know, he's like 10 or 12 feet tall. So I would have scaled him down a little bit, even though we want him to be the subject of it. I like the lighting on it. I think the lighting's done pretty well. I think Obi's just overall too bright. I think you need to just make Obi overall darker. Put an exposure on him, drop it down a little bit, and then give it a color balance where you add in some blue and magenta. And I think that would make this look a lot more cohesive. But the lighting of like the colors and stuff, the pink and stuff, looks good. It would look better if you did that with the exposure. But overall, it's an Obi Toppin graphic, so automatic A+. Alright, let's go back up. I think this is... Yeah, this is Universe Graphics. Got this Captain America zombie design he did. So let's take a look here. I mean, for this one, I don't really have much to say. No notes. The only thing I would really say is, can we make this look more like Captain America? Like, yes, we have this, which is showing Captain America, and it depends on what you want to do. I would have tried to make this look a little bit more like Chris Evans. Just a little bit. But, you know, I like the lightning up here. I feel like the lightning maybe would have shielded this a little bit from the light. It wouldn't have here. This is good. This area is good here. I think this would have been a slightly darker. And it would have been nice to have some, like if light's coming this way, it would have been nice to have some of these blue highlights hit like right here for where lightning is theoretically hitting. You know, I think that would be a nice little thing to add there. But you have like the light source from over here. So you've got that hitting here, which is nice, and hitting here. And I think you patched together the zombie pretty well. I think I don't know, this looks odd to me. Don't know why. It just does. But this is all solid. Solid lighting all around. There's like you've got this grunge texture up here, which is nice. And it looks like I don't know if you applied it to a bunch of other areas. No, maybe not. I don't know. Rain looks good. Just saw that. You know, a good job on that. And you've got it super dark down here. What if we would have kept some of this area in play so you could see it more? And then, I mean, you really draw the focus into here though, so that's kind of nice that you did that. Really just a couple little things with the lighting, maybe make him look a little bit more like Chris Evans, but solid overall. Oh, we got this this Little Cooper Cup graphic by Little Cooper Cup of Coffee by Unknown Glory. And I gave him suggestions on this a little bit. Overall, it's pretty solid. Composition's good. Big guy, little guy. Background's nice with the using elements from the Rams logo. You know, stadium here. A little bit of smoke to add a little bit of an effect. Using the same text the Rams do is a good call. You know, I would have gotten rid of all of these logos, like, because they would probably hate this. Like, this isn't what their black and white logo. You can't tell that this is their black and white logo. Like, if you're going to do this, use the right logos. Like, maybe just do Rams, because this is wrong, and they would say that if this was real. You know, the LA Rams have really weird logos now. This one might be okay, but they might not want it to be yellow. They might just want it to be white. So I probably would have just put like Rams in the corner and called it a day with that. I think this is good. Over here, I get what you're doing and you're playing that this is how he did. I would have liked to see a little bit more contrast in these. Maybe a little bit of size contrast. Maybe it's just that yards and touchdowns are a thinner weight, so they're not the same bold Helvetica font. You know, maybe that's, I think that would have played a little bit better, because these all sort of muddled together. These are fine. Maybe make versus smaller, or not smaller, but yeah, maybe make versus smaller, different weight. Make this the same weight as this, and then you have these be the big marks of what you want. They can be the same size, just make them a different weight of font. The color change is good for contrast. Maybe adding a little bit of a weight change as well would have been a good little addition. The quality in this photo sucks, but that's not your fault. You clipped him out well and you've got some nice lighting on him. This just sort of bleeds all together, like it bleeds in right here and here based on the whiteness. That's probably just from the photo. You can't really do much about that. And then effects up here on him look pretty solid. Your clip looks pretty decent. You know, I would have probably smoothed out this area where his arm is. It's probably from his armpit hair. I just like to smooth stuff out like that, just because it looks cleaner. But overall, pretty nice graphic. We got designed by Jake. He's got this Frank Ocean graphic. He's done a couple series like this, and honestly on this, no notes. I really don't have much to say on this. I mean, he made a pretty nice series of these, and they're cool. So really, I'm just going to talk about things I like in this. You know, he's got a lot of texture going on, which is great. But within that texture, he's got this nice boxed frame coming in. So he's got that boxed in with the same texture going on. He's got some overlays of, you know, a hand here. You know, maybe this eyeball is a little weird. Maybe you get rid of that. There, I'll give you a note on something. But he's got profile face here. The only thing I guess I would say is you can't really tell. You can't really see anywhere that it clearly says Frank Ocean, which is fine. Maybe you have it just say Frank Ocean like right here, tiny, like really this big. Frank Ocean, you know, something like that. Just because if someone doesn't know that this is Frank Ocean, then they're not going to know what this is. And that's where the whole point is, you're showcasing that this is Frank Ocean. If they don't know it's Frank Ocean from an outside perspective, then it's no bueno. But it's a cool design. Don't really have much to say after that. We've got this Bradley Seaton design of Doctor Strange and Spider-Man with a car. You know, I think he was trying to do a lot of lighting composition with this and stuff as well. So like the car's lit pretty nicely. Overall for me, like the composition's good. I like what's going on. Overall for me, I'm not crazy about the colors. Like this just seems too pink. You know, Spider-Man is red and blue, and I get that you're trying to do that effect of have everything be the same, but do that, but still, you know, add in. Let me see if I can turn this back to red. You know, make it red still, because that's what Spider-Man's suit is. It's red. It's not pink. It's like you could still have it have the same effects, but make it red. So just put a little selective color on there to see what it would look like. All right, back to talking about things. Let's see here. So I think this Doctor Strange, like he's not on anything. Like sure, he's coming out of the sky, but like make it more defined what he's standing on. Put a cloud here that's very defined. You know, he's got the sky going in here. What is going on here? Are these, because you've got mountains here, which is nice, but then like there's this big mountain that doesn't look like it scales correctly with this mountain in the background. I probably would have just made this all sky and gotten rid of or hid this a little bit better. I think this is all done nicely here with the lighting here, the lighting that, with the lighting on this. I think he's got a little bit too much lighting on his face for where Doctor Strange is. Because I get what is happening. He's coming from behind him, but right here it looks like it's right next to his head. So if Doctor Strange would be right here, when really he's, a couple hundred meters behind him. So keep this area a little bit darker, and I think that would have been better. And then maybe touch some shadows here on the car to sell that he's on the car. I think that's the only thing that really is missing from this. Just a little bit of lighting, figure out where he's standing, get rid of these mountains, because it doesn't make sense with these mountains, and then make it actually red instead of pink. Just because it's one of those things, if you see a Coca-Cola can and it's not Coca-Cola red, it's gonna bug you and annoy you. It's the same thing with Spider-Man. You know it's red, but this is coming off as really muted and pink. That's just what I would do personally. Got this Jonathan Taylor design by Klatsky Edits. I already gave him a little bit of feedback on this, but we can do some more. So, compositionally, overall when I look at this, and I've already told him this, but I'm going to say it again. Everything's too blue. There's no pure white. There's pure black, which is in here, but there's no pure white. Like, real lightning is white. And it's the brightest, it's super bright. So like do these lightnings. So the way I would have done this was take the lightning, like this, and then if you just, give it a little bit of like an outer glow, which is over here, an outer glow, and then select that blue color, set it to screen. So this is this right here. And then, boost the size, like this clearly isn't lightning, but like, this looks more realistic than the other lightning just because of how it is, because it's pure white. And then since it's so white, you'd be able to turn in and put some more whites back into the jersey for pure highlights, because there's no pure highlight, because it's almost as if he's in a room that is only lit by blue light, when in reality the lightning would be white. Personally, I think the lighting looks decent. I think you just need those pure highlights, those pure whites in it to sell it. I think that would do the job. And then personally, I would pick or choose inside or outside, because you have it realistic. You've got these shadows, so he's realistically inside Lucas Oil Stadium, or, fake stadium. But then you have Lucas Oil up here. So it's like there's this interdimensional rift where you're outside now here and inside here. I would pick one. Make them outside the parking lot, make them inside, and just make this much bigger with the stands, and then you can have lights here. And then maybe since there's lightning, you can have, clouds up here, and then lightning's coming from up here. That's what I would have done personally on this, but overall it's not too bad. Just a couple little tweaks. TH Graphics has this Murray graphic for the Spurs. Taking a look at it, I really like it, so I'm gonna hit it with a. I don't really have much to say. It might be a little crispy for me. Like some of the skins are, real crispy up here. Maybe tone that down just a teeny bit. Let's take a look and see if we can give you some advice on what to do. I think this is solid. Shadows are good. This little lighting's nice. Lighting effects are good. Text down here is pretty solid. I would have changed how I did this. I probably would have been like points 29 and then do the divider. So don't divide it. Like you do have the space here, so it does do that. So you do have them sort of together, but I would have done it slightly differently, or maybe like 29 and then points divider. 11 rebounds divider, just something like that, just as a little bit of advice. You have a grid here because, sure, why not? You have it here too, so it's sort of a continuation of what you've got going on. It's better than X's and O's. I don't know what this weird texture is here. I kind of like it, but it's kind of weird. I don't know. It's kind of okay. I think this part over here is a little bit distracting. I would have toned this down just to be about half that, or real small sliver. Cut that in half. I think that would help, because you've got all this good you've got a lot of contrast. This is all sort of dark, 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 and this weird big white line. This text up here is pretty solid. You know, this is the sort of generic exclusion text, which I'm like, okay, whatever. But, you know, solid. I would have probably, unless this has a significance to the design, Photoshop out the name of the Sheridan. Because it's very, very distracting because it's white on dark and you've got this whole dark thing going on. This number 5 looks pretty solid. You know, maybe get rid of this guy. Make this 5 a little bit bigger. You know, I don't know. Because I think this guy's just a little extra. Doesn't need it. Because you've got big, little, or little. Just keep that magic sort of triangle composition going on, which would be nice. But overall, that's really all I would have to say. It's pretty solid. If I didn't mention something on that, it's probably because you didn't need to change anything. And it looks good. All right, we've got this Crusaders Organization Guide cover from Layton. This is for the Crusaders. Let's see here. I like the text here. You know, the Crusaders is a little bit hard to read, but it's sort of on brand for Crusaders. But you can still read it. I think Organization Guide is a little tougher to read, just color contrast wise. Like, this is kind of hard to read. I don't have a good solution for that, because I like that it's different than the white of the Crusaders. Because if it was black, it'd be hard to read. Like, the city in the background is black, but that's sort of a textural element. I would have maybe made this a little bit opaque, maybe 50% opacity, just to lighten this up a little bit so it's not so distracting, but it does give you a little bit of contrast for the text, so maybe it's not that bad. Let's see here. Composition appears pretty solid with the players. Photos aren't terribly great, but that's what you're working with. Can't fault you for that. Composition is decent behind that. I think some of the splatters are a little generic. Just for me. And then I would just tone down this paper texture a little bit, because you have something going on in the background here, but I can't see it because of this paper texture. So I would tone that down just a teeny bit. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Just a couple little nitpicky things. But again, I don't know the context of who made the, or what you were told to do and stuff like that. So we've got this by Moger, B Designs, Kanye West graphic. Whoop-de-doo, Kanye. Let's zoom in here, see what we've got going on. Looks like blurs. Like this is a little weird. I don't know the point of that. Like this little jaggedness, because he's like going up, but then it's like something going to the side. I don't know, a little peculiar. Tiny little bit of an area I would fix clipping wise. The lighting's good. Like light source up here. This is everything looks pretty lit well. This is lit well. This is lit well. Maybe touch a little bit more on his shirt in a couple spots, but not really. Maybe hit here a little bit with some little brighter areas, just for more contrast. Because you have him, even though this is down at the bottom, like this would still be lit, you know, by parts of the light coming from the top. So maybe do that. I like the contrast you have with the text. You know, I don't know if I would have had it where it is, because it's, for me, it's not dead center. You know, if it was dead center, it'd be slightly higher here. Maybe you have it down here at the bottom. But if you have it down at the bottom, you can't see these lovely hands you have reaching up for Kanye. So maybe not. Maybe you put it down the side or something. I don't know. You'd have to play around with it. It's not a terrible location, but it's just covering up this here. Maybe you zoom out a little bit and make room for it. And you can have Kanye a little bit smaller. You have Kanye a little bit smaller, text here, hands, something like that. I don't know, just a suggestion. Lighting's pretty solid though. Don't really have much to say about it. We've got this Heston design for Nightmare on NBA Lane, the Ethan J. Open collaboration, and on this one, No notes. I mean, this one beat mine. I got 4th place, you got 3rd. So what can I say? You made a better design than me. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'd make some of these highlights a little bit bigger. I don't know. Curry's face is a little dark here. Like, I don't really have much to say on this. Like, good lighting, good lighting, good lighting. Like, because I knew what you were given. So it's all pretty solid. I don't know. You've got some orange hitting his hand here. Maybe a little bit hits his face. You know, I don't know. I think this is maybe too harsh, or just needs to be blended in a little bit more. You know, I'm like nitpicking at this because not really that much to say. You know, this is blue, but the moon behind it is white. Maybe make the moon blue to match this color here. You know, maybe do something different with the text that he provided. You know, something like that. Overall, pretty great graphic. Fenced in. I don't really have much to say. Let's see here. We got this by Kibble, EJ Kibble Designs. Sancho. So overall, looking at it, I hit him with another. You guys are doing pretty good. You guys are posting pretty good stuff to this. So, big guy, little guy. Look, area for him to clearly be grounded on something here. Shadows. This shadow might be a little too dark for me. And I don't care much for the, hey, it's excluded behind it, or whatever it is, whatever blending mode it is that does this. This background's cool. Like, I like what's going on here. You know, this shape going on, and you've got the text here. I'd probably get rid of this. I'd get rid of this text because it's a little hard to read. And I'd probably still get rid of this text too. And then if you get rid of those texts, you can take this text and move it here. Because you've got to, like, you're just repeating his name. You've got Sancho here. You got his name here. You got his name here. It's not needed. So move this over to be in this area. And then maybe move him over a little bit. Move him over a little bit. Because then you'll have this nice sort of triangle composition of where you're looking. Background's cool though. I like that. I really like these gradients. Yellow to orange gradients are always nice. I think you could probably tone down this displacement map you have on this border just a little bit. Just right here. It's nice everywhere else. Just right there. It's a little odd. But overall, pretty solid. We've got this by Ani. This Raiders Redskins design. So like right away, like quality of the images isn't great here. You know, this image is a little suspect. The logo's in the background. This looks, I can't tell if you're trying to blur this on purpose or if it's just blurry. Same with this. Find SVG files of the logos online. They'll be vectored and be much bigger. You got the NFL logo right at the bottom. You know, nudge that up so there's some space. You've got 512 and Allegiant Stadium. I probably would have put those together. Maybe have NFL logo. You know, say what the teams are. Maybe Raiders versus Washington Football Team, Allegiant Stadium, 5/12/21. You know, something like that. And then just compositionally, like, the composition's fine left and right, but make these guys the same size. You know, make sure that Rivera's head is the same size here. Make sure that this head is the same size here, which you kind of do here. But these guys should be the same size. These guys should be the same size. And then you just, like, kind of threw the logos in the background. It doesn't seem to have a lot of rhyme or reason behind it. And then, like, tone down this. You've got this, you know, this paper texture's fine, but you have it going right over his face, right over his eyes, where you're going to look. You're going to look at eyes. So it's distracting. So maybe move it up, move it down, tone down the opacity on it a little bit. I think that might help. We've got this by Abatino. This Banchero design, Stefano Abadi. Duke graphic. We just lost to the Ohio State Buckeyes, so dub. Let's see, what do I want to say here? Overall, I think a lot of the design is there's so much contrast with his face. Like, it's so dark here. It goes immediately to this pure white. Tone down that contrast. Trying to figure out compositionally, like, I do like how he's here. You've got this text going on. and you've got the ball in front of it, which is adding depth, which is nice. I probably would have gotten rid of the displacement map on it to make it all jagged. I'd probably make it a little easier. And maybe give it some padding on the sides, just so, you know, is this an O? Is this a D? If I don't know who this player is, I have no idea what's going on. This appears solid with the little hoop and the Duke logo. I probably would have made the Duke logo like smaller, but you know, they're always going to want logos to be bigger. Down at the bottom, same thing. This is solid. I probably would have made this a little bit, this little French flag a little bit bigger. French flag? French flag. I'm going to say French flag. But like some of these effects down here, they're pretty nice. You know, the fog or whatever. I just think there's too much contrast. Too dark, too light. Having the cathedral in the background for Duke is good. And then this is okay, just to have like two pieces, but it's like real heavy over here. But then this big B does outweigh it a little bit. I just think I would have tried to figure out a different way to do that. I don't know. Those are just a couple thoughts. But overall, I mean, I like Duke too. We got CST Visuals, some guy that plays in Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, Joey B. Hey guys, look. So I'm going to point something out. So like, if I bring something up and it's on a lot of these graphics, it's probably something trendy that I'm probably going to stay away from and just sort of do my own thing. Like exclusion of something, you know, it's where behind it, it's the exclusion, difference, whichever one it is. I think it looks nice with his signature actually, so I don't mind it as much here because it's not a big aspect of it. But they're probably not going to want you to cover up the Joe Burrow logo. So just a thought, probably don't do that. I don't care. The Bengals might, but it looks cool. This looks cool. You have this field blur in the front. This is nice. Big guy, three little guys. I would have used a puppet warp to make him dead straight up and down. So I would have made a couple points and just tilted his head over a little bit. That's me being super nitpicky. And then I probably would have made the sky less pink and more orange, just so it blended in with everything else. But you did add a little bit of pink to his face, so I guess that makes sense and it's kind of okay. I like that you put him in a circle, but you have him coming out of the circle. I think that's nice. I would get rid of your signature here since you have your logo up here, and that's probably just for like if someone steals it purposes, but I don't think you need it. But overall, pretty good. Good. Big guy, three little guys. Composition's nice. Get rid of this trendy things I hate. I'm just gonna crap on trendy things. Nice container. Maybe you could have added some stripes or something behind this. I don't know. Just more depth, but you don't need it. But overall, pretty solid piece. Then we have this Justin Jefferson design by Yo Gianluca. Compositionally looking at this, everything is down here. The whole composition's down here. Never going to look up here. Just there's nothing up here pulling my eye in. You do have these photos. So like, if you're going to do that, you've got all this empty just space right here. Move this photo up so his eyes are right here. So there's a reason to look up here. And then maybe you can actually make it full size or not, or full opacity. And then you can have this guy sort of blended in the background fine. I would get rid of these just like the repetition of his name for no reason at the top and bottom. Just because you have Justin Jefferson here in the middle, you're already telling us that information. And then maybe you have this Justin that's yellow. Maybe this says Minnesota and it can go off the back. Go off the side, that's fine. And maybe this says Vikings here, since Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings. I just think compositionally it's a little peculiar. And I get that you're trying to make it look like he's like zooming in space, but also just kind of looks like it's snowing, which is a little odd. I don't know how I would have fixed that. But just compositionally play around with something so you want to force the viewer to look in a certain direction. Right now when someone sees this, they just go, I just look down. I just look down. And he's not really coming at you. If you want him to come at you, put him right here dead center. He's coming at you. And then these lines would make a little bit more sense. And then maybe you have the text down here and do something different with the background. I'm not certain. Those are just some thoughts on what I would tweak in this initial graphic. Alright. We're in the home stretch, I think. We've got this Alvin Kamara graphic by Carr. I know people love this. What we got? Nothing. Clients love when you do this, so nice. I think you're cutting into his arm though. I think. Like, I feel like his elbow would be like right here. So I would have scooted him over maybe a bit. I don't know. I gotta look at the original photo. But people like when you do that. I know clients have told me specifically to do that on things, so that's good. I think this is a little too dark. You can't really see his face. Same thing here. The lighting on the outside is pretty solid and everything. I think he's just a little too dark. Because this is white. Like, you've got all this big, bright, and then dark. And it's the main subject, so why would you make him so dark? But I do like what you did with the text with the 41. I think it's a little too light. Like, it's not the Saints color. It's just like a tan. But it's not the Saints gold. I think if you added a little bit more gold to it, it would have been a little bit more on point. But I like the faint texture you've got going on in the background, and that might be why you did that. Who knows? Logo in the corner is good. Faint texture, good. Maybe having his signature like right here or something in black would look nice. You know, like A41. You know, I don't know, a little nice touch, but overall, pretty solid. Don't really have much to say to that. And I think we have like 2 designs left. All right, we got 2 more. So we've got PO01K with this Kyle Pitts graphic of the Atlanta Falcons. So a lot of good stuff going on here. All in all, compositionally, I'm not certain where I'm supposed to look. Like, what's playing around here is nice, and this background is all good. This is nice. You know, this is nice. This is nice. Why does it go to white? That doesn't make sense to me. And like, I like how this plays in with the photo of him here, and the editing on this is pretty solid. But like, give this a little bit more padding so it's equal, or just tighten in this box so there's not this empty space of nothing. I would get rid of that. But then you just have him like shoved in the corner here. Like, he's looking off this way. So like, when we go here, we say, oh, what's he looking at? Oh, he's looking at nothing. Like, maybe put him over here, smaller, and then move everything over a little bit. So we've got, again, like this, a triangle composition. So we see little guy here, we go up to the big guy, which you can move to like right here, and then his name is here, Kyle. And then we would have this sort of triangle composition. Probably would have made this a little bit better, because you've got just like this generic grass patch here, and this actually looks nice for the shadow, but I would just made this all grass then. And then just have this bleed in a little bit less of white. I think that would have helped out a little bit more on what you were trying to do. But like, it's a good, there's just a couple composition issues with it. Other than that, the treatment and stuff looks good to me. Alright, last and least, but not least, we have Darian. We have this nice Darian design. I already told him my critique of this. There's too much Vikings in it. He said the street was from Illinois, so he gets a check minus for that then instead. But I think for this one, really, no notes. I don't know, maybe you wanted to be more detailed on some of this lighting. Like, this is, you've got this lighting over here, which is good, but it doesn't translate to like darkening his face or his features, darkening these areas that would be hit from this light source coming from this side. Maybe that's a critique. Let's get real nitpicky. This looked weird, but it's not, so never mind. Let's zoom back out. So for this floor shadow, or puddle, I think you just like set it to screen maybe, I think there are puddle maps for like wet concrete like this that you could use, but it wouldn't look that much different. It would be a little bit more fine detailed because it would be more reflective. So it wouldn't be as transparent. It would be more opaque, but you wouldn't see as much of it. It'd be a little bit jibber jabber because it's wet concrete. And since it's wet concrete, that's something else to nitpick. There we go. Since it's wet concrete, this wouldn't be green and have this green tint to it. Like this green from the grass that's reflecting off of him. Get rid of that. Because he's not on grass, he's on black concrete. Other than that, you got big guy, little guy here. You know, maybe put his name on here so people know who I'm looking at. Because I want to say this is Justin Jefferson, which it is, because we already had a Justin Jefferson design. You know, maybe just add his, I don't know who this is. You know, add his name somewhere. And I would probably put these guys in different areas so they're not the same. You know, Vikings logo over here, Darian Designs over here, just to separate them up a little bit. But, you know, composition's good. Everything looks realistic. This is nice. Stars in the background thing, pretty solid. So overall, pretty great. And that brings us back to the beginning. So thank you guys for joining me for this week's design Discord critique. If you guys want to join into my Discord and get your own designs critiqued, there's a link in the bio below. Other than that, I will see you guys next Tuesday for our live design, which we do every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.